Feliz Navidad, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year from Kiss.
Feliz Navidad, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas from Kiss.
Ho, ho, ho! I'm wishing everybody a really Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year.
Someone stole Santa? That does not rock!
What's going on, vinyl community? Welcome to another episode of 25 Days of KISSmas, where every day leading up to KISSmas, I will be reviewing and discussing every Kiss studio album plus more. For the 11th episode, I will be reviewing the Dynasty album from 1979. For as much as Kiss cemented themselves within late 70s Americana, the oversaturation of the band's merchandise, tensions within the band that were attempted to be fixed with the solo albums which did not meet sales expectations, and the poor experience of the Kiss Meets the Phantom film were contributing causes to the demise of the band. But ultimately, the band came back together after some time apart. They embarked on a Return of Kiss campaign with this album, and let's just say Kiss found themselves on the disco dance floor. So let's dig into the album. Side 1, Track 1, I Was Made for Lovin' You. This song was written by Paul, producer Vinnie Poncia, and Desmond Child, a notable songwriter that has worked with tons of artists with whom Paul found a frequent collaborator going forward into the 80s. In essence, Paul wanted to write a song that captured the vibe of Studio 54, and given that disco was dominating the music scene at the time, the song, which was originally called Tonight, has that disco tinge. It goes without saying that Casablanca was the prominent disco label by the late 70s, so the song had the stigma that the band may have sold out. While Gene was and isn't too fond of the song, it gave the band its sole worldwide hit, just shy of hitting the top 10 singles charts and the band's second/last gold single. Track 2, 2000 Man. Here we have a Mick Jagger-Keith Richards composition, of course originally done by the Rolling Stones, and this song appears on their Satanic Majesty's Request album from 1967. Ace had worked up a demo of his arrangement of the song, and the band dug it enough to record it for the album, and it became his signature song on subsequent tours before his exit from the band. Of course, the original version will always serve as the basis for cover versions, and maybe this is slightly biased, but Kiss's arrangement certainly outweighs the Stones version, and this version was also released as a single in the UK. Track 3, Sure Know Something. This song is a collaboration between Paul and Vinnie Poncia, and while the song didn't do much as a single within the US, it proved to be a top 10 hit for the band in Australia. The song has a slight disco vibe to it. The overall tone of the arrangement and lyrics are a bit on the minor side, which serves as a contrast to Kiss's usual empowerment avenue, and it's one of the compositions that Paul is most proud of composing, despite not liking the production value of the song and preferring a more stripped back acoustic rendering, which can be found on their MTV Unplugged performance. Track 4, Dirty Livin'. Here we have Peter's sole contribution to the album, co-written by himself, Vinnie Poncia, and Stan Penridge, and it is this only song where Peter plays drums on the album, while the rest of the percussion work was handled by Anton Fig, who had played on Ace's solo album. Like most other Peter tracks, this was one that originated from his pre-Kiss band Lips. It can be seen as a semi-biographical account of Peter's early upbringing, with some nods in the lyrics to some of the other Kiss songs that he sang lead on, such as Getaway and Mainline. Once the original demo got reworked into the disco-tinged track that it became, it more or less had set the tone for the Dynasty album as a whole. In a similar fate to Beth, this was the flip side of Sure Know Something, but exclusively within Germany. The single was reissued, but the sides flopped, and it topped the German top 30 charts. Now we're going to flip the album over to Side 2, Track 5, Charisma. This was a collaboration between Gene and Howard Marks, who was one of Kiss's business managers at the time. His contribution to the track is merely a few lines that inspired Gene to write this track that musically was loosely based on the Wicked Lester track Simple Type. This song was also released as a single in Mexico. Track 6, Magic Touch. Here is a Paul track that is very much an underrated gem on the album. Almost reminds me of Tonight You Belong to Me from his solo album. The whimsical falsetto bridge section gives it that distinguished factor that dithers it from just being another straight-ahead rock tune. Paul must feel strongly about the track since he had revived it for his Live to Win solo tour in the mid-2000s, and the song was also released as a single in France. Track 7, Hard Times. Ace wrote and sang lead on this tune, and kind of similar to Peter's Dirty Livin', this song is autobiographical and talks about Ace's early street upbringing. Certainly one of Ace's best tracks within Kiss, one that's true to his nature, and one that was criminally never played live by the band. Track 8, Xray Eyes, a Gene track that tells the tale of the demon knowing what to expect out of his companion because he has, you guessed it, Xray Eyes. The instrumental middle section is pretty cool, and the inclusion of the X-ray sound effects during the chorus are a bit of good fun. Track 9, Save Your Love. The album is rounded off with another Ace track. As you can tell, he made more of a prominence on this record, whether it fell down to confidence or leverage with having a hit with New York Groove. This track is kind of similar plot-wise to Rip It Out on his solo album, a song about ending a romantic liaison. As for where this album stands in my Kiss catalog ranking, I would put Dynasty at the number 13 spot. It goes without saying that this album gets dubbed as the disco album, and while there are some disco-influenced moments, there are only really a couple songs that can attribute to the genre. There are some very cool moments on this record, but you can definitely tell that their sound is a bit more mainstream sounding, perhaps to fit in with the new kiddie demographic that they now attracted, so it certainly kind of separated the hardcore fans who were present during their black leather and studs beginnings, to where, along with the sound changing, the outfits at the time were a cross between Disney and Vegas. So this album was definitely a turning point, but the songs are absolutely decent. So there you guys go. That is the 11th episode of the 25 Days of KISSmas series. Stay tuned tomorrow for the 12th episode, and you can already guess what comes next. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next video, and most importantly, keep the records spinning.
Treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow.